Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Gavin's College Football Talk. I know I've been away for a couple months, but I've had a lot going on. But I'm back today with a brand new video. Before I talk about what this video is going to be about, I just want to say this video won't be as scripted or as long as the first three, because like I mentioned in the previous episode, episode 3, the first 3 episodes were a part of a college class that I had to do. So this will not be as long. It won't be as scripted, so I won't have a script in front of me on the computer this time. I do have a couple notes. I'm just using notes in my brain to deliver this episode. Enough about that. Today's episode, I will be giving my record prediction for the South Carolina Gamecocks and the Clemson Tigers. Now, for both teams, South Carolina and Clemson, I split their schedules into 3 categories. Most likely to win, a toss-up, and most likely to lose. Now, when I say toss-up, I'm saying they could either win it or they could either lose it. It's literally a toss-up. But I will give you predictions for all 12 games for both teams today. I won't say, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. I'll give you a win and loss for each team today. Before I give you the wins and losses, I want to walk through each schedule for you. Starting with the South Carolina schedule. They opened the season September 5th versus Kent State. Then in week 2, they play Townsend at home, and then they host Mississippi State at home as well. In week 4, they play at Alabama, but then they come back home on October 3rd to play Kentucky. Then on October 10th, they go all the way down to Gainesville, and they play the Florida Gators. Then they have a bye week. On October 24th, they host the Tennessee Volunteers, and then on Halloween, they go up to Norman to play Oklahoma. Then to start November, they come back home to play the Texas A&M Aggies. Then they go back on the road to Fayetteville to play the Arkansas Razorbacks. Then their last home game of the season is against Georgia. And then they wrap up the season against Clemson. Now, for the 3 categories, for my most likely wins, I have Kent State, Townsend, Mississippi State, and at Arkansas. So I think that those 4 teams, they'll definitely win the first 2, Kent State and Townsend, but they have a over 80% chance, I'll give it, against Mississippi State and at Arkansas. Look, we don't know what Arkansas is going to be. They're bringing a new coach from Memphis. Basically, the whole roster is brand new, so we don't know what they're going to look like. Could Arkansas be good? I don't see it, but you never know. But I think that will be a most likely win. Now, before I give you my toss-up, I want to give you my most likely loss. For South Carolina, I only gave them one most likely loss, and that is against Georgia. Now, I know Carolina and Georgia haven't played each other in a while, but Georgia's just really, really stacked against this year. I think their quarterback, Gunnar Stockton, has a really good chance of winning the Heisman, and I know this is Gunnar Stockton's kind of homecoming because he was committed to South Carolina. I don't know how long, but he was committed to South Carolina for a while before ultimately flipping to Georgia. So I know Gunnar Stockton will not get a warm welcome when he comes back to Willie B in late November. But so that was the only most likely loss. So for their toss-up, I have over half their schedule here. I have at Alabama versus Kentucky, at Florida versus Tennessee, at Oklahoma versus Texas A&M, and versus Clemson. Look, it's the SEC. I know it's the best conference in college football. But, I don't know what half these teams are going to be like. Like, at Alabama. Yeah, it's at Alabama. That's always going to be tough. But, I don't know what to expect from Alabama. They're going to have a new quarterback. Ty Simpson went to the league. And is Kalen DeBoer in the hot seat? I don't know. So, at Alabama, I don't know what they're going to look like. Kentucky, sure, that could be a win because it's at home. And last year when Carolina played Kentucky at home, they absolutely gave them BTA. But Kentucky brought in a new coach, Will Stein from Oregon's OC from last year. There's a lot of turnover with that team as well. Bringing in Kenny Minchie at quarterback from Notre Dame. Bringing in C.J. Baxter from Texas to run the ball. And their offensive line might be the best offensive line in college football, period. So I don't know what to expect from Kentucky either. So that's why they're also in the toss-up. At Florida, again, new coach, John Summer from Tulane. I don't know what to expect from them. Are they going to start the transfer from Georgia Tech or the true freshman? I don't know. Versus Tennessee, Again, who's going to be their starting quarterback? Is it going to be the 5-star talented quarterback? I can't remember his name. Is it going to be him, or are they going to lean on someone else? So I don't know with Tennessee. At Oklahoma, now that I'm looking at it, I'm leaning more as this one as a most likely loss with all the weapons that Oklahoma's bringing back with John Mateer, Isaiah Santana for the wide receiver, and obviously their defense is always going to be elite because it's Brent Venables. So I know I had this in the toss-up category, but I'm thinking right now as I'm talking about this that I might move this to most likely loss. And then Texas A&M, look, I'd be lying to you if I said Carolina's not trying to get revenge from what happened last year, blowing a 30-3 lead. Oh my gosh. And again, it's at home this time, but you know, A&M, they're bringing back Marcel Reed, who's also in the Heisman conversation and the Heisman talks. I mean, they got 5-star after 5-star after 5-star. This will be a tough match for Carolina, a tough matchup for South Carolina. But I mean, they proved it that they could go up on this team, and they last year at Kyle Field, and they're bringing back a lot of those players like from last year. Carolina is. So I think maybe now that it's at home, maybe they can get the job done. I don't know. And my last toss-up is Clemson. Obviously, Clemson and Carolina both had a down year last year. Clemson lost a lot of guys to the draft. They're bringing in a lot of guys from the transfer portal, which is insane for me to say. So I don't know what to expect from Clemson. We don't know what their quarterback situation is going to be. Is it Christopher Frazina, redshirt junior, or is it going to be the true freshman Tate Reynolds? We don't know yet. And by the time that they play, because they play the last game of the season, Carolina-Clemson, Clemson should have an answer on who it's going to be, at least I would think, but you never know. All right, so those are the categories. Now I'm going to give you my game-by-game prediction. Kent State, open the season, that's a win. That's 12:45 on the SEC Network. Week 2 versus Townsend, that's 7 o'clock on SEC Network Plus. I think that's also a win. So South Carolina will start 2-0. Week 3, South Carolina hosts the Mississippi State Bulldogs, 4:15 on SEC Network. I think Mississippi State could actually be sneaky good this year with their quarterback Kamari Taylor and Jeff Lebby getting the system rolling again. But I think Carolina will win. So I think Carolina will start the season 3-0. And actually, South Carolina starts the season with 3 straight home games for the first time since 2014. I thought that was a nice little nugget. Okay, week 4, they play at Alabama. Like I mentioned previously, there's a lot of question marks with Alabama, but I think that it's going to be too much. I think Alabama will win, and it's a 6-8 matchup. We don't know what time slot it's going to be or what time, but it's the 6-8 time slot. So it's going to be a night game at Bryant-Denny. Yeah, I'm sorry, South Carolina, but I think you'll lose that one. So you are 3-1 when you go back home against Kentucky on October 3rd. I do think you will win this, but I would not be surprised at all if it's a close game or if Kentucky actually wins it. I'm telling you, Kentucky has a lot of turnover, and we don't know what it's going to look like with the new quarterback, new running back, new almost everything, new head coach. But I think South Carolina will win. But like I said, don't be surprised if it's closer than the experts think or if Kentucky wins outright. Now, on October 10th, you go down to Gainesville and you play the Florida Gators. I'm looking at something. I'm sorry. You're sinking your first win in Gainesville since 2010. 2010, 16 years ago. I think you get it done. I think South Carolina will beat Florida this year in the Swamp for the first time since 2010. And then you have a bye week, but after the bye week, you come back home and you play the Tennessee Volunteers. Now, last time you played Tennessee at Willie B, it was insane. But the upset, winning 63-38 over then number 5 Tennessee, it was crazy. You actually ran out of fireworks. You scored that much. Will it happen again this season? I do think you'll get the win. Now, I don't think it's going to be a blowout, as big of a blowout as it was, 4 years ago in 2022. But I do think you beat the Tennessee Vols. So you are 5-1 going into your matchup with the Oklahoma Sooners. I think you lose this one on Halloween. I know you won 2 years ago when you played at Norman, but Oklahoma's just too good. I think you will lose this third meeting against Oklahoma all time, and the series is split 1-1. But I think Oklahoma gets this win, and I think they'll be up 2-1 in the series. Now you go back home against Texas A&M. I know you played A&M really, really well last year at Kyle Field. But, and I know this is at home, but I think A&M will win. A&M's too talented. They got the quarterback in Marcel Reed. They're just too talented. I think A&M will win this game. Now, you go at Arkansas on the road. I think you win this one. I don't know what to expect from Arkansas. I don't think they'll be that good, but you never know. I think you will beat Arkansas. Then you come back home in your last home game against the Georgia Bulldogs. I think you lose this one. I think Georgia's just too talented. They got too many weapons. They got the quarterback. They got the receivers on the outside. They always have the running backs, and you know the offensive line's always good. Oh, by the way, you know their defense is always going to be really good when Kirby Smart's the head coach. So I think you lose against Georgia. And I'm not giving you the Clemson prediction yet because I want to run through Clemson's schedule, and I want to save that for the ending. So right now I have South Carolina going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7-4 right now with a matchup against Clemson still waiting. Now, let's go to the Clemson schedule. Now, same thing with Clemson. I separated it into 3 categories: most likely to win, a toss-up, and most likely to lose. Now, I'll run through the schedule first. I'll give you my 3 categories, and then I'll run through it again with giving you my game-by-game prediction. You open the season at LSU. Lane Kiffin's first game at LSU. It's a night game, 7:30, ABC. College game, they will be there. Week 2, you come back home against Georgia Southern at night, 7:30 on ACC Network. Then on week 3, on September 19th, you host the Fighting Bill Belichick's at noon on ESPN. And then you play a Friday game the following week. You go at California at 10:30 on ESPN. Then after that, you come back home against arguably the best team in the country, and you play Miami. Then you have a bye week on October 10th, and then you come back home and you play Charleston Southern, the Fighting Buccaneers. And then you play Virginia Tech at home as well. And then on Halloween, you go down to Tallahassee to play the Florida State Seminoles. And then to start November, you play at Syracuse and that big old dome. And then you come back home against Georgia Tech. And then you play another Friday game, November 20th at Duke on 7:30 on ESPN. And then you wrap up the season as God intends it against the South Carolina Gamecocks. Now, I'm going to give you my most likely win. Georgia Southern, it's Georgia Southern. North Carolina, no. Charleston Southern, it's Charleston Southern. Georgia Tech, and at Syracuse. Now, I think at Syracuse, that could be a little tricky because Clemson never plays well against Syracuse on the road. But I think they'll get that done because Syracuse just has a bunch of turnover. The quarterback is coming back, though, Steve Angeli, who tore Clemson up before he ruptured his Achilles in that game last year. Now, these are my toss-ups. I have at California as a toss-up. Have Virginia Tech as a toss-up. At Florida State. At Duke. And versus South Carolina. At California, new coach. We don't know what to expect. It's a Friday night game. You got to go all the way across the country. That's why I have it a toss-up. Virginia Tech. New coach in James Franklin. A lot of turnover as well. I don't know what to expect from them. At Florida State. It's at Florida State. That's on Halloween. Crazy things happen on Halloween. Mike Norvell is fighting for his job. I have that as a toss-up as well. At Duke, it's another Friday game. Clemson never plays well at Duke. They lost 4 years ago when they played at Duke on Labor Day, and they lost that. Cade Klubnik's first start, by the way. And then South Carolina, as I mentioned with South Carolina, we don't know what to expect with Clemson or South Carolina. Probably we know more to expect with South Carolina than Clemson because they're returning a lot more than Clemson. Anyway, I have two teams as my most likely loss. At LSU and versus Miami. At LSU because it's at LSU. It's Lane Kiffin's first game. It's a night game. He paid up to north of $30 million for this roster. They got dudes on dudes on dudes. They got Sam Levitt at quarterback. They got the number 1 offensive tackle in Jordan Seaton. They got weapons on the outside. They got weapons in the backfield. And on defense, Will Baker as one of the best defensive coordinators in all of America. So I think that would be a loss. And then Miami, arguably be the best team in the ACC, a top 5 team in the country, top 3 team in the country, even with getting Darren Minson from Duke, getting Cooper Burkett from Duke, returning Malachi Toney, and then the defense is just, it's insane. So I think those are my 2 losses. Now, most likely losses. Now I'm going to go through the schedule one by one. To start the schedule, as I mentioned, you go to LSU. You're looking to win an opener for the first time since 2022 when you play Georgia Tech in Mercedes-Benz Stadium on Labor Day. You will not win this one, so you will be looking for another opening season victory. I think you will lose to LSU. I could see it being closer than the experts think, actually, but I do not think you win this, and I think LSU will win this game. Now, you come back home, you play Georgia Southern, you'll win that one. Then you play North Carolina, the Fighting Bill Belichick's. Like I said, you win that one. I just don't see it with Bill Belichick. Now you go all the way across the country to play at California on a Friday night. I think you lose this one. And you start the season off 2-2. I think you lose this one because it's a Friday night game. You got to go all the way across the country. You got to wait till 10:30 to play. And California's quarterback, I'm telling you right now, I am buying his stock. His name is Jaron Kiwa Sagabatole. I think I said that well. JKS. He was a freshman All-American. He's going to have weapons on the outside. And I think their new coach is coming from Oregon. I think he was Oregon's DC. But I think you'll lose this one at California. So you start the season 2-2. Not good. And then who do you have to play next? You have to come home and play Miami. Arguably the best team in the ACC and maybe the best team in the country. I think you lose this one as well. So you start the season 2-3. That is not good at all, especially coming off of a 7-6 season last year. But I think you lose this one to Miami. They just have too many weapons. I mean, I know this is the first game in October, but there's still probably a lot of question marks surrounding Clemson with the quarterback situation. Where their defensive tackle, I'm worried about their defensive tackle depth, okay? They lost a guy that they got from the transfer portal he tore his ACL. So I'm really worried about the defensive tackle depth and the quarterback unit as a whole. So I think you start the season 2-3. Then you have a much-needed bye week. Then you play Charleston Southern. That's a win. I don't need to say any more. Virginia Tech, this one was a tough one because I don't know what to expect from Virginia Tech with James Franklin at the helm. But I gave Clemson the win only because it's at home, but I don't know what to expect from Virginia Tech. Then you play Florida State on the road on Halloween. I think Clemson wins this one. I just don't see it with Florida State this year. The quarterback's going to be Ashton Daniels. I just don't see it with Florida State this year. So now you picked up 3 straight wins, and then you have to play at Syracuse. I think you win this one, even though Syracuse always gives Clemson a tough battle at the Dome, in the Dome at Syracuse. I do think you win this one. So you've won 4 in a row. And then you play Georgia Tech. I think you win this one. So you'll be on a 5-game win streak. Georgia Tech's losing a lot from last year. They're losing Haynes King. They brought in Fernando Mendoza's brother, though. We don't know what he's going to look like. And they're bringing in Justice Haynes at the tailback position from Michigan. I just think there's just too much for Georgia Tech to replace. So I think Clemson wins this one. And then you play at Duke. This is another Friday game. I think you win this one, but it could be really, really close. Duke always plays Clemson well. Duke won last year at Clemson. And then, like I mentioned, when they played in 2022 on Memorial Day, Duke blew Clemson out. But I think you win this one, even though it's going to be close. Have a couple nuggets. The last time Clemson played 2 Friday games during the regular season was in 1947. And they do that this year with at California and at Duke on Fridays. This is the first ever true road game at LSU and at California, and this is Clemson's first time playing California since the 1992 Citrus Bowl. And lastly, Virginia Tech comes to Clemson for the first time since 2012. So I have Clemson going 1-2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7-4, same record as Carolina going into their matchup. All right, now we have Clemson versus South Carolina. What do I think will happen? Well, I was doing some research for this game, and I was crazy. I was baffled when I saw the stat. The home team hasn't won this game since 2018. 2018, the home team hasn't won. With Carolina, they have more answers on offense, even though they really don't have that many answers, at quarterback and at receiver with Nick Harbor, but mostly at quarterback with Lenore Sellers. I have questions about their run game. Who's going to be their running back? I always have questions about the offensive line. It can't get much worse, but how much better can it get for next year? Defense, I mean, they're returning some guys, but I have questions on the defensive front besides Dylan Stewart in the secondary as well. So I definitely think there's more answers for South Carolina than Clemson, but Carolina still has a bunch of questions. For Clemson, quarterback. How's it going to play? Who's going to be the quarterback? I don't know. I don't have any questions about their wide receivers. I think they have arguably the best wide receiver duo in TJ Moore and Bryant Wesco in the ACC. I'm not worried about that. Gideon Davidson and Chris Johnson will be a great 1-2 punch in the second, or in the running back in the backfield. But the offensive line, I'm worried about the offensive line. I know they got Braden Jacobs over there in the left tackle. I don't know what the rest of the four is going to look like. Defense, I'm worried about their front line, their depth. I just don't know if they have the depth to compete this year. Linebacker, I love Sammy Brown, first team All-American potential. Who's behind him? Is it going to be Kobe McLeod? Is it going to be Jeremiah Alexander, the transfer from Alabama? I don't know. I'm worried about the linebacker core besides Sammy Brown. Secondary, I feel good about their secondary, bringing back Ashton Hampton, bringing in Elliott Washington from Penn State, bringing in Jerome Carter for the safety positions, and Corey Myrick also to play safety. So I feel way better about their secondary. All right, I'm done beating around the bush. For Clemson versus Carolina this year, I think Clemson wins it. I think they break the streak of home teams not winning. I think a home team will win for the first time since 2018. I think Clemson will win it. Only because I'm not going to say because it's at home, because obviously that hasn't mattered. Only because I think the secondary will make a difference in the passing game, and they will get a late turnover when South Carolina and Lenore Sellers are driving that have a potential to win it. I think they would create a late turnover, and I think Clemson will win it. So I have Clemson going 8-4 in the regular season, and South Carolina going 7-5 in the regular season. Is this enough to keep Beamer for another year? I don't know. He'll make a bowl game if this happens. I don't know. And then for Clemson, 8-4. I mean, obviously that's not what Clemson wants, but it's way better than going 7-6. And if you win the bowl game, it's 9-4. I don't know, but my record predictions for 2026, I have Clemson going 8-4. I have South Carolina going 7-5. Now, if you're still here in the video, thank you. I am going to end this video by talking about some personal stuff that's been going on in my life. These last couple months have been really, really hard for me and my family. I'm not going to get into detail, but it's just been really rough for all of us. And I'm not trying to tell y'all to do anything because I don't want to push this on anyone. But me and my family, we believe in Jesus. We believe in God. And I'd be lying if I told you that I've been a good Christian, because I haven't. And I'm trying to get closer to Him. And going through this last couple months, I've been really trying to get closer to Him and His Word. But I'd be lying if I said I have. So what I'm going to do is that, now, I don't know how many more videos I'm going to be doing, but at the end of each video, I'm going to read a devotion from Jesus Listens. All right. My King, your thoughts are not my thoughts, neither are your ways my ways. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are your ways and thoughts higher than mine. Help me to rejoice as I ponder how great you are. I marvel at the wonder of being able to commune with you, the King of the universe, anytime, any place. Please don't ever let me take this amazing prayer privilege for granted. Even though you are infinitely higher and greater than I am, you're training me to think your thoughts. As I spend time in your presence, reading your word and praying, your thoughts gradually form in my mind. I realize that your Spirit is the director of this process. He He guides my mind while I'm waiting in your presence, making plans or mulling over problems. Sometimes he brings specific Bible verses to mind just when I need them. These communications strengthen me and prepare me for whatever is before me on my life path. Lord, spending time with you has blessed me far more than I dared to ask or even imagine. In your majestic name, Jesus, amen. And as I start Carolina in a couple weeks. My goal is the last couple weeks of summer is to try to get as close to Jesus as I can, but I've been making this my goal for the last couple months, but I haven't really been succeeding. If any of you guys have any words of advice or anything, please leave them in the comments. But yeah, I just want to thank y'all for watching this video, watching this episode, and I will try to upload some more in the future before school starts. So thank you. I hope you guys have a great day, night, whenever you're watching this, and I will talk to y'all later. Peace. God bless.